possible negative implications of taking this drug on a regular basis. Meanwhile, the woman is walking through a field of butterflies. She's blowing bubbles, walking a little puppy on a rope because she just took 2 pills and got over lifelong depression. Incredible. But the Jardiance ad, have you seen that? Jardiance, I believe it's a diabetes medication. And they got this big fat chick who gets off a train and immediately is leading 25 to 30 people in singing songs about how wonderful the effects are of Jardiance. And I'm thinking the last time I saw a drug like that was when we had Dennis Rodman doing shows at that Bamboo Beach Tiki Bar right on the beach here in Fort Lauderdale. And he was like gargling with Goldschlager.
Yes,
He was pretty much out of his mind the entire time. And then one night he comes on our show, and I've never seen a guy happier in my life. And I thought, whatever drug this guy's on, I want some of that.
Yes.
I don't know that Jardiance gives you that kind of a feeling, but you would assume that it just was a key to happiness, that as soon as you started guzzling a bunch of Jardiance pills out of this bottle, that you were going to be happy and your diabetes was going to disappear, or would get to the point where you just didn't fucking care about possible complications and the implications of having this hideous disease. Unbelievable, right? So we have to get rid of that.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Great to be with you here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, and the handsome gentleman over there is one Mike Lubie Lubitz. And I guess we'll provide our own sound effects once again for the intro to this particular line of thought, this thought process. Do we have it, Lubie? Do I sound like a dying rabbi? What the fuck is that? I don't know.
Sound like
I should not provide our own musical sound effects here on the program, but you have to start with a line from The Godfather, correct? What would you agree that would be appropriate today? And that would be, and I never quite got this part of it. Tartaglia is a pimp. In other words, what? They were suspecting that Tartaglia was a rat in the organization the entire time. And then, of course, you have Don Corleone saying, it was Bozzini all along. Unbelievable delivery there by Marlon Brando. It was Bozzini all along. So we're speculating that that's very appropriate for what was transpiring in the sporting world yesterday, because we believe this, Lubie, and I believe it even more strongly after yesterday, although I want to believe the exact opposite, Lubie. Mm-hmm. I want to believe that Shohei Ohtani had nothing to do with this gambling scandal, that this interpreter was a criminal putz, that ended up, how did he get away with racking up $4.5 million, though, in debt to this bookmaker? What was it that the bookie was just holding him on account on the outside chance? I remember Vito, who was collecting for Eddie, who was in the bookmaking business and was an associate of ours. Let's put it that way. Is it fair to say he was a business associate of ours? I mean, that could have got us in a jackpot, Lubie, even though it was like all, legal paperwork done and everything. And essentially we were going to, get funded with a small amount of money to start some kind of thing long time ago, way ahead of our time, right? With Defo Radio.
Yeah, it was 2009.
2009, right? We were doing stuff that, and of course, we didn't have enough money to actually bring this thing about.
Yeah.
Because it's all about the funding, my friends.
Yeah.
But we didn't realize what we were in, and it was, the game was a little bit bigger than our vision was in terms of how we could get involved. But that being said, I mean, that $12,500 that he staked us, we were going to owe him $12,500 a week for the next.
Exactly. It wasn't legal.
Bookies don't have this kind of benevolence where they go, oh, geez, you know what? We know that eventually Shohei is going to bail you out. We believe that he is going to back you and vouch for you, my friend. So go ahead and continue to bet on fucking Manchester United.
Our friend Andy yesterday was saying it could have been, because remember, Andy and Ken are the ones that believe the interpreter 100%, which I
100%.
Which I still find weird, because they're two of the more cynical people. And Ken was in a past life worked with bookies, so Ken knows the deal, but whatever. So Andy yesterday was saying that the guy could have gotten so deep that at some point it's like, either you just accept you're going to lose it, because a lot of the time there are bookies that, just like a business, realize you're going to take losses, and it is what it is. And in the hopes of maybe he pays, which is supposedly what happened, right? Supposedly Shohei
just let him keep betting, huh?
Supposedly,
Cut them off at 10,000.
I don't believe that for a fucking second. There's nobody, even when a business knows people do steal, they're never happy about it. And they're like, yeah, sure, keep stealing. Like, that's not a thing. Bookies definitely don't do that. I find it really hard to believe that they're like, well, he may know Shohei. 4 million. You know, like, come on. Like, that's being weirdly naive to me. And then on top of that, every day the story changes from Shohei and the Dodgers' perspective every fucking day. Come on.
This was a riot yesterday. They may as well have just put Pete Rose up there to introduce the proceedings. I'm surprised they didn't. Pete weighed in on this thing. He made his own little video about it. And I said that had he had an interpreter back in, 1980 something?
80s, yeah. What, mid 80s?
Yeah. It was 89, I believe, when he was banned for baseball for life. And you thought, and I still believe this to this day, that he had a wink-wink deal with Bart Giamatti, the commissioner of baseball at the time, but nobody could have anticipated. And this is what you hope happens to your bookmaker, right? That he checks out, and that when you're on the hook for $4.5 million, I mean, I'm sure that this Matsuhara, or whatever his name was rooting for Matthew Boyer to get hit by a bus on La Cienega Boulevard. No. That was his only way out. Never mind Shohei Ohtani. Who figures you're going to put the touch on a friend? Like when a friend calls you when they need money, Lubie. I know that now you haven't exactly been overwhelmingly flush at any given time in your lifetime. It's not like you're starving or anything, but you're not a person that people would think, yeah, you know, I can get the money off Lubitz.
Yeah, no, I'm not. That's very
unless you're just faking us all out that you're actually filthy fucking rich.
I've never been the person they're running to, but yes, people have asked me for things in the past. Sure.
People always thought I had money because I was on radio and TV, and they figure you're making enormous amounts of money. And there were times where I had money, and a lot of times like this where, you're thinking, hey, where the hell is my next meal coming from? But nonetheless, and it was always typical. You would hear from some guy that you hadn't heard from in like 20 years. And he would say, by the way, I'm in a little bit of a financial jackpot right now. Could you lend me $20,000? I'll have it to you within a month. So I haven't spoken to you in like 2 decades, and you're calling me now because you think I might have some money because you see me on TV or on the radio or whatever, now streaming, and you figure that anybody that's doing that is just flush as a daisy. But I mean, can you imagine? I mean, when this guy, I don't care how good of a friend he was, the interpreter with Shohei Ohtani. When he hits him for $4.5 million, you think Shohei is not going to think, you know what? There are a lot of guys that could do this job.
Exactly.
You fucking asshole. How could you be this bad at picking soccer games? And what the hell are you doing? I mean, everything that we are working on, everything that we've worked for our entire lives is about to go up in smoke because you're an idiot, sick, degenerate better. Exactly. Very unbelievable that this story is as innocent and appears to be as easily cleaned up as it was. There are details there that you would be screaming to find out about. Like you would want to hear from this Boyer, would you not? And yes. I would imagine that's how this story originated because you can see the scenario playing out. We talked about it a little bit yesterday on the show where before Boyer even hears the words from the feds, would you like a seat, Matthew? Before they turn the lights on, he's saying, I got names.
Exactly.
You want to know who was doing this? I'll tell you who's doing it. All right, I got everybody. I got every celebrity in Hollywood. Who do you want? So they say, I mean, give me something big. Otherwise, it's not going to be so comfortable for you, Mr. Boyer. And he says, do you speak any Japanese by any chance? Pretty wild story. We live in Fugazi City here in South Florida. We know this, people, and we've talked about these things many, many times. The preposterous nature of some of these unbelievable press conferences where you literally leave there with far more questions than you do clarifications. And in this case, to parade Shohei Ohtani up there, have him read a statement in Japanese, and then have this other guy, did he even interpret it into English? I think he just sat there, the guy. It was like a marionette that was not functioning. I didn't see him translate one single word of Ohtani's statement into English. Did you? On any of the clips that I saw?
No.
They just had him up there as a super and on a crawl underneath the video of Ohtani, very humbly speaking about this. Did he come off as being believable at all, in your opinion, Louis?
Oh, no. I mean, it's another story because what we heard last week was that he found out about it and paid the guy's debt off. Now, all of a sudden, he was saying yesterday he didn't hear about it until like 2 weeks ago.
I knew nothing.
Yeah, so what does that mean? I'm so confused. Was he getting the money from your account or not? And if not, like, you don't monitor your account at all? Like, I don't know. To me, there's way more questions than answers. And I guess they don't have Ohtani on anything, so he won't get suspended or penalized. But I don't understand how you could think for a second he's not involved.
How could he have known nothing about it? It's impossible. It really is. You see this, offered up as Bud Selig, right? Sitting there at the congressional hearings. Those were great, weren't they?
Yep. Zeroid shit.
Mark McGuire, I'm not here to talk about the past. Then what the fuck are you here to talk about, Mark?
No one cares about you now.
Nobody gives a shit about you're hired to help kids. You had a needle in your ass when you went to bat there for that 54th home run. The Maris family, I mean, all of that emotion that they spent congratulating you on this marvelous quest. It was all bullshit, Mark. That's what we want to talk about. We don't want to talk about how you're now working with a boys' club. Get the hell out of here. How about Sammy No Speak Sosa in that situation? He just done several commercials. I mean, he's selling RVs for some local dealership in Chicago.
Exactly.
Going camping? Go with me, Sammy Sosa.
He spoke English perfectly.
Until a guy asked him a question. Hey, Sammy, you ever do any juice? No speak. Huh? What?
He did national interviews. Like
he needed an interpreter. He had that same guy, Matsuhara. He was in there sending it in on the Cubs. What are you talking about? Jose Canseco was the only guy that was honest. Imagine that. The one guy that you thought was like the biggest rat in the world, and he's the only guy that's honest. We had those Fugazi press conferences, though. We mentioned them. Still my favorites. They stand out. Ron Rothstein claiming that he had a nervous breakdown conveniently as he was leaving his dream job. Same thing, Stan Van Gundy. Stan Van Gundy wanted to go to Disney World, for God's sake. Can you imagine? That was the reason they gave him.
Obviously, he didn't want to go, but it made sense that it was time for him. I know it wasn't like the Dolphins were good after he left, so I guess they could have given him more time. But they had hit a plateau and were on the downside. Okay, he didn't choose to leave, but it was about time for him to leave. Okay.
People were screaming for his departure. They really were, as distinguished as he was.
The press conference was bullshit, obviously. He wasn't going to willingly leave.
Imagine it.
Even hand it over to Jimmy Johnson.
I'd like to welcome Jimmy Johnson to town. He despised the Jimmer. He hated the Jimmer for saying all of these things about how the end of his tenure was really laced with failure, no?
That was a load of garbage. But at least it was like, okay, the actual act makes sense. The Stan Van Gundy one is the one that's the best to me. Because
that is a good one, yeah.
He had been an assistant for years. Like, I think he went back to New York with Riley. He'd been with the Heat for a long time. He had been around the game of basketball a long time. He had a team that was in the conference finals. And yeah, he sort of fucked around by not making Keon Dooling give fucking Shaq the ball because he was fucking dominating the Pistons after Wade got hurt. He fucked up there. But they were in the conference finals, and Wade, a top 5 or 10 player in the league, had his shoulder fucked up. So it made sense that they struggled. They were coming back. They were supposed to be better. They were going to retool. And then suddenly, in the middle of being a top 3 team in the league, with Shaq and Wade, I'm good. I'm going to go to fucking Disney. You know, like that one was like, and then he comes back coaching and like coaching the Magic like a year and a half later. Like that one.
Became like president of the Pistons.
That one was like, okay, that you didn't
loves basketball. I mean, this guy literally would eat a Converse high top all black sneaker for breakfast and be happy about it. This is Stan Van Gundy. I got to know Stan because you talk about working his way through the system. He was like the 4th level assistant with the Miami Heat, and under Pat Riley, and he was available. He was the one guy that was available to me to always have doing shows, and he would come drive himself to the studio on a Sunday. Sit in for an hour with me. I thought the guy was fascinating, always a great baseball fan. And with his level of enthusiasm that I had personally witnessed and felt, there is no way to believe that he possibly woke up one day and said, you know what, my daughter's 14. I've been doing this a long time. I better get her to Disney World so I can have that hideous song in my head for the rest of my life. It's a small world after all. You got to be kidding me, man. You can't believe that. But that was some serious bunk yesterday, and very disappointing because I've said this many times. We were doing another show earlier this morning, our morning briefing on Caffeine TV, and I was talking about I had the opportunity to cover the Dodgers many, many years ago on a somewhat regular basis, and we had a great relationship with them, even though I was working for some weenie newspaper out in the middle of fucking nowhere when it came to California. I mean, I'm 60 miles east of LA. They don't care about your 5,000 circulation daily. That's not going to sell a lot of tickets there to Chavez Ravine. Even though everybody in the universe at that time, especially, was a Dodger fan. The Dodgers were clearly number one. The Lakers had not really come into that level of prominence yet. They were about to. The L.A. Kings had Gretzky, but ended up having a bogus owner there, Bruce McNell. So I don't know how far that set him back. This guy was a complete phony, just like this press conference yesterday. Didn't own a shirt on his back. You can do that in the NHL. That's what I love about the NHL. You can own a team even if you don't own the shirt on your back. It's happened a couple of times, right? What is up? I mean, who was the commissioner before Gary Bettman? Does anybody remember?
No.
Because it doesn't take much to qualify. It's not like they really do a good deal of vetting and trying to figure out who their ownership is going to be. I would imagine they've improved in that category. But how poor? I mean, can you imagine the Angels and the Dodgers both whiffing on the fact that this interpreter's resume was completely bogus?
Yeah, I don't get that.
That there was nothing on there that was true, that he wasn't even born in Japan, for God's sake.
It's that hard to check an interpreter. Like, you would think.
This guy's from South Africa. I think he was from the Bronx. I don't know.
He's from NY.
It was all bullshit.
Oh, my God.
Great story. Are we ignoring Jim Sarney's going to be upset with us? Our good friend Jim Sarney, longtime media critic for the Sun Sentinel, and kind of a media critic. What would it be? Emeritus for the show?
Yeah, pretty much.
I saw him attack you on social media about your clear-cut gender bias when it comes to sports, Lubie.
He said, this was yesterday.
He really gave it to you.
Games.
I felt the anger in that little tiny tweet or whatever that was.
He wrote out, he's like, a full game of, what round are they on? Sweet 16? I don't know what fucking round they're even on. Action today. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm like, the men's tournament's only Thursday through Sunday. Oh,
I saw that. Yeah, you said that very sarcastically.
Oh, I get the championships on Monday. Yeah. I didn't read what he wrote.
Oh, he buried you. He attempted to.
He did.
And then he was asking you, if you only watch men's figure skating.
I don't watch any figure skating.
I'm like, yeah, figure skating. Well, how did you throw that into the argument there? You had him. I thought Sarney was winning this argument until he threw that one in there. But nonetheless, we have completely ignored what was a wild night of action in the women's NCAA tournament. I saw some of this stuff because you couldn't avoid it. No matter, you could turn on like CNN and they were playing women's basketball there. There's Caitlin Clark chucking another three. Pass it, Caitlin.
I avoided it. I didn't watch a second of it.
How deflating would it be if their team got knocked off? People were. It's kind of like the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight coming up. Is there anybody that doesn't want to see Jake Paul get his teeth knocked in for some reason? I don't know. Just so he'll go away and not be a part of boxing anymore.
Yes, because he's not helping. Boxers are actually defending him, saying he tries and this and that. And that's fine, but he still has bastardized it. I mean, you can say whatever you want about it.
Yeah. Who are you fighting? I mean, Canelo wouldn't even stoop to this level to fight a 70-year-old guy. Although, I don't know. I mean, lately, as he's been trying to dodge this guy Benavidez, he's always doing things like Ohtani did yesterday, where he's at a press conference and he's trying to convince you of the impossible. that there was absolutely just out of nowhere, this guy somehow stole all of your money and paid off a bookie for $4.5 million worth of illegal bets that he made on soccer games. Oh, okay, yeah, no problem. I'll buy that. But it was kind of wild here. Fugazi City definitely is the characterization that you would have from Miami. The gender bias thing, Libby. Caitlin Clark, she had a lot of points last night, 32, something like that. West Virginia was, I think, might have either. Did they take the lead in that game? They may have. Number 8 seed. I didn't realize that the women's early round games are played. Are they all played on the home court of the favorite of the lower seed? Is that possible?
Early on, they are. Yeah.
What kind of bullshit is that, Louie?
I don't know. I know they do that with the NIT in the early rounds. I didn't know they did that with the tournament for the women. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, they're playing home games. So this was her last home game, I would imagine. Caitlin Clark, and acquitted herself very well as they ground down a victory. We saw some other teams threatened as well, and then a couple of runaways on the women's side. But I think they're going now. Tonight will conclude the action that will send the women's NCAA tournament into the Sweet 16.
Yeah,
if you're keeping track of that.
Yeah. Round 2 was yesterday.
Okay, well, we don't want to be accused of this gender bias because it's sort of. Do you feel a little bit of guilt about it when we completely ignore an entire faction like
I don't. Am I
50%
supposed
of
to?
the country?
I don't know anyone that watches it. Like, to whom am I talking? Look, again, we'll talk about things that not everyone talks about. That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone talking. Like, I'm not trying to be mean. I know all these NBA players are big into women's basketball, and that's really cool. No one I know in my life outside of Jim Sarney watches any of it. Like, I'm not even trying to be mean. I don't hear anyone mentioning it. I know ESPN tries to force feed it to us, but there's no other news outlet that talks about it. There's no other media outlet that talks about it. I don't see it anywhere. So it's like, would we be literally talking to? Like,
it's more of a disturbance and a nuisance, an intrusion, isn't it?
Yes.
To have to deal with it. Unbelievable. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're really going to dive in to the entire gambling industry. A gentleman going to join us here from No Limit Technology, and he is on the precipice of really turning the entire gambling universe upside down. I mean, just absolutely amazing what he's got going, and well-versed in virtually every aspect of degenerate gambling. And since we are degenerate gamblers here, and we're thinking about, how much money can we throw away on the chalk in the next round of the NCAA tournament? We'll introduce him to you. A gentleman named Raphael Grosswert going to join us from No Limit Technology. That's coming up in just a second here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz, and we'll be back with more in a moment. Now that. The time. It's 8:26.
Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep, no more, and by asleep to say we end the heartache and 1,000 natural shocks.
What could that have been about except
Gambling.
to hedge or not to hedge?
The modern day odd couple, Defo and Lubie, are on now. It is, of course, the Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show, the Defo Show on this Tuesday morning. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz. And the point of that whole bit there, I think, was to show at one time that you could have anything that you're saying, and it sounds good when the underbed of music is from NFL films, right, Lubie? And you doing Shakespeare, of course, so it was a bit of a stretch. We welcome to the program, and wow, so much is happening in the gambling industry. And I was introduced to this gentleman by a mutual friend of ours, a man that I fondly know as Dr. B. And he turned me on to the company that this man is responsible for. It's called No Limit Technology. And I don't know that there's anybody that's been more well-versed in gambling technology and things related to the field and the industry than this gentleman. Raphael Grosswert joins us here on the program. Raphael, how are you? Thanks for joining us on the show.
Good morning from LA. A little morning here, but it is a great pleasure to be on with you and Lubie. And I've been looking forward to coming on here and just having these deep conversations. I mean, it's probably the best show that I've seen out there related to just true gambling. You know, we don't even try to sugarcoat the word.
Nothing.
Gaming, it is what it is. It's taking hold. I mean, you look at the numbers, how they've exploded over the last few years from the decision of the Supreme Court to allow all the states, because as you remember, um, Las Vegas was the only state that had the monopoly on gambling, and Chris Christie did do something great, which was sue the federal government and said, "Hey, how come Jersey can't have sports gambling?" They won, and now suddenly there's 30 states allowing sports gambling. I mean, DraftKings and FanDuel were teetering on because DFS is a great game. We all love playing fantasy sports,
Mhm.
but there wasn't enough meat on that bone. And once you got sports gambling into the mix, the numbers just exploded.
Yep.
The numbers are great. So we also got onto that bandwagon, starting with DFS. You can see it in my background there, and we deployed it. It's been up for a couple of years. We've got a few thousand players, sort of on a beta test kind of a situation. Then crypto comes into the scene. We develop our own crypto, and suddenly there's sparks, there's magic, because now we've got suddenly players from 50 countries, and I'm like, this can't be true. I look, and I see that.
Mm.
So that's how we've been evolving
Yeah.
from being just a, hey, let's put together a DFS platform, to, now we've got our own crypto that was integrated into that DFS platform. Now we've got thousands of players around the world, people that had never heard about fantasy sports, getting a taste of that sweet excitement where you build your own teams and you follow not just one game, but now every single game, and you're hooked on a sport. And first it's NFL, but now we're doing all the sports. And certainly what we, our crown jewel, and I've got this little background here kind of telling the whole story. You could see, whoops, up here, this little image shows what a lot of people talk about: smart contracts. Smart contracts are essentially uh, a piece of software on a blockchain that performs a financial uh, execution of something. So in this case, it takes money from one bettor, takes money from bettor number two, puts it into a smart contract. Then when the results come along, it gives it to the winner, essentially. And it only gives the fees to the platform. Right now, any online sports gambling platform you want to use, you have to send the money and they're holding on to it. Our model lets you always keep custody of that money. So think about it. Professional gamblers and even amateurs, understand that whole aspect of arbitrage, right? I'm going to put a bet on a team here, and I'm going to find maybe another sports book where the line is different, where I could make guaranteed profit. It's called arbitrage. It's you make a few points, guaranteed. Everybody would love to be able to find arbitrage opportunities, but they have to have accounts in every single platform. You have to send money to A, to B, to C. If you send money right now to one of the platforms, maybe DraftKings, you send $5,000 or $1,000, and suddenly you got a better line on FanDuel. Well, you can't play there.
Right. Now this is revolutionary stuff, though. That it should help out not just the players, but the people that are involved in taking this action in the industry. Is it not also greatly advantageous
That's right.
for the industry itself to just embrace this technology?
Absolutely, because we are actually deploying what is called a wholesale betting exchange. So we are trying to be the Chicago Merc, right? The Chicago Merc is where, all the commodities are traded from all over the world: gold, silver, sugar, everything you can think of. And what we're going to deploy with this smart contract, we call it the betting protocol, is going to allow the big sports betting operators to offset their positions with each other at extremely low fees.
So
How many?
they're stuck. Somebody's got 80% of their action is on the Chiefs,
Oh, thank
and
you.
they figure they're going to get buried. They don't have to panic and worry they're all going to get fired on Monday. They can lay off all of this action through this system, very simply, right?
I love this show, Defo, because normally,
Right to the chase, man. How can I avoid losing all of my money? Yes.
Totally gets it. Don't have to.
normally it takes me like 25 minutes to explain to the host what exactly.
Yeah,
it
what is it that
means.
you do, Raphael? What's going on with this company? Yeah, but no, that essentially is a giant tool, for the people in the industry.
I mean, how many times, do you hear, oh, so-and-so casino took a massive bath on this
Yes.
game or in that game?
We
Even
always
this-
root for those stories, right? I want to see the
Yeah.
bookie get buried.
Right. That's our first step, right? The wholesale betting exchange using the betting protocol, but it's not going to stop there. We're going to take that technology and let the end user also access it, and it'll even allow end users to either take the action on the exchange, and the exchange serves like a sort of a free market where you can see the odds at the different sports books, but you might say, well, you know what, I want to offer, maybe there's 5 points on a game, I want to offer only 3. And there might be a guy on the other side that wants to get out of a position, and he says, you know what, I'll take the 3. So it's sort of a free market.
Sounds like me. I'll take the 3. Give me anything.
Right. That's
Just give me a winner. It's too bad Shohei Ohtani didn't know about this system.
oh man. Don't
Now,
get
you're
me
out there in
started.
Laverne. Isn't that like south and west of LA a little bit?
You
Laverne,
nailed
California.
it. I mean, most people will say, Laverne, is that next to Shirley? I'm like, oh no. Don't
No, I used to swing by there on my way down to Laguna Beach when I worked out in California for many years. I was in the fabled Inland Empire, which I didn't know there were mountains behind there until like about 5 years into my existence in California. One day it was a clear day, and I said, "Oh my God, there are mountains out here, out in Ontario." But we used to come down that way. So how big is this Ohtani story there? And is anybody believing it? Just curious, because you're right there at the epicenter of Dodger baseball, LA. I mean, I can hear the voice of Vin Scully saying, "Pull up a chair and stay a while."
Everybody's saying the same thing. There's no way, this interpreter guy could have done such moves on his own, right? I mean,
Yeah. Have you known of any bookies that would extend a guy that had an average job $4.5 million
Hey.
in a line of credit?
I'd like to meet that guy too. 'Cause he'd love this.
Yeah, I want to bet the tournament.
You can lay it off to someone else. Exactly.
Shohei could have avoided all this, Raphael, if he had been aware of what was going on with No Limit.
Well, that's right, because I mean, if he loves to gamble, there's so many legal ways already to gamble, and
Yeah.
you don't need to, be playing those side games. And the guy's got this huge contract. We're all excited here in LA to have him, stay here. And now he's with the Dodgers. I mean, the greatest baseball team. I mean, for us. And it's unfortunate, I still kind of, I'm still got my fingers crossed on the Pete Rose thing. Come on, get him into the Hall of Fame. But but there's just
Did you see his quote? He said if he had had an interpreter in 1989, he would be in the Hall of Fame.
Exactly.
We knew Pete a little bit because he circulated around town. He actually had a restaurant here, and I was doing some shows in Tampa Bay Downs. I find it surprising I was at a racetrack doing the shows, but and Pete was always the first car in there, and he would put down like 50,000 to win on some horse in the first race, and it would be 1-9 flashing on the board. So he was a stone degenerate. I mean, we knew that. The likelihood he wasn't betting on baseball seemed to be a little extreme, but we'll see how this Ohtani story plays out. All right, so you have the technology that the industry needs. that the player needs, whether they're betting sports or playing fantasy sports. What's the game plan now with No Limit? And
Right.
how can people get
How can people
involved with the
access it?
company?
That was
Yeah.
yeah. How can people access it?
How do people get in there?
So you've got so you see what's happening with crypto, right? I mean, I started, talking about Bitcoin in 2014, and everybody thought I was crazy and telling me that, oh, crypto's only for the money launderers and for drug transactions. But what they didn't realize is the most trackable money is actually crypto, because it stays on the blockchain. It's a public ledger. You can track any transaction to unlimited degree, meaning where did it go? Where did it go after that? So it's perfect. It's a great way to do financial transactions that are not controlled by a single entity, a single country. I mean, look at our great country. We can print $1 trillion like overnight just to, and now we're printing $1 trillion every couple of months. And that's why crypto is taking off, because it is money that you can't just print more of. So we created No Limit Coin to basically use it as a currency, is a utility token. And we have a very important distinction to other cryptos, and which is a utility token. A lot of the time, the SEC is saying, hey, that's a security token. It needs to get registered. It's got all kind of restrictions. You didn't file for this or that. But in our case, our token is what is called a utility token, and you could buy it on PancakeSwap right now against BNB or BSC, which is the Binance Smart Chain. And essentially, it is what circulates through our daily fantasy sports platform. You can see the email there. It's what's going to be used to power the smart contracts that'll allow you to bet in any token, not just No Limit Coin. It'll be sort of the fees that'll be 1%, 0.2%. I mean, we're talking tiny. Remember, when you're putting money on a bet right now with a sports book, you're behind by 15 points out of the gate,
Right.
with the juice, the line, the vig, and you have no choice. You have to go with it.
By the way, those terms are music to the ears of our degenerate
like,
audience out there.
Sky
Yeah. They're always talking about
Not
juice,
needed.
and we know it's not apple or orange. Yeah.
It's like the ponies. I mean, you're always 15% behind,
More
and
than
you
that.
have no choice.
Yes.
When you have an environment where your fees are going to be so low, sometimes that's going to be the difference. I mean, if you would do your accounting at the end of the year and you say, why did I lose money? You might have lost maybe 15%, which is exactly the fees. So with the advent of an exchange using crypto, which we call frictionless money, meaning very little cost, because before we had crypto, you could come in with Visa, MasterCard, and you can still do it. I mean, by the time you send $100, we've got 92 cents of that only. So we're already 8 points behind. We got to sock it to you. We got to make it back. And then on top of that, we've got the advent of losing, because in a sportsbook model, you're betting against the house. The house wants to take your money. In our model, we don't care who wins. We're like, hey, we got one side, we got the other side. We're the matchmakers. We'll take a point or two of guaranteed money versus 15% that other platforms need to take. So we believe in this model wholeheartedly. We're raising money through accredited investors. You can see my email there. It's in the investor relations email. If there's anybody out there that says, you know what, I want to get in on that company early, I want to get in on No Limit Coin while it's No Limit Coin was up in 2018, 2019, up to $100 million in terms of market cap when I first came out with this, because everybody says, oh, this is the perfect solution for gambling. We love it. It's the perfect solution. And the coin took off. But then the whole crypto market, came crashing down back then. And we're back to raising money the traditional way from investors, from investors, and there's still a lot of opportunity for that. So if there's anybody out
Yeah.
there that
Is there a phone number, Raphael, people can call to get in touch with you if they're
yeah,
interested?
909-438-4079, or that email I put right on the board there.
Okay. It's
And-
dev@nolimitcoin.org.
That's right, developer, and it's actually on, and you could actually go and buy No Limit Coin right now, and get ahead of the potential eventual explosion of this crypto, which is still under, like it's a tenth, less than a tenth of a penny, and I put right there where it says you could buy it at Pancake Swap. You could still buy, 1 million coins for a couple of $100. I mean, this coin at some point, 1 million coins was $500,000.
Yeah.
And we think that the moment we deploy this platform that I've been talking about, both on the wholesale level and on the retail level, on a worldwide basis, it's not just for US sports.
Yeah.
I mean, the other day, I was looking at Betfair Exchange. They already have an exchange, but it's centralized. They hold on to players' funds. They had 1.4 billion with a B on a single game. The cricket final, you're like, what's that?
Finals, yeah. It's like betting on women's college basketball for us here in the States. Is this a publicly traded company, Raphael, or
Not
private?
yet. Not yet.
Oh, not yet. Okay, you're waiting
But it will
possibly go public.
It's definitely the path that we want to follow.
Okay.
It's something that will happen. So if you want to come in as an early stage investor, you could come in with as little as 50 grand or even 25 grand, but you got to be an accredited investor, which has, you have some parameters.
Get a piece of a betting site and the crypto.
That's right. We think we could be the next DraftKings, but even more because of this technology that's not going to have to socket to the players.
Yeah. No, I mean, everybody's looking for an edge like that. I mean, think about it. You're laying 110 to win 100. And
Right.
that's going to kill you in the long run. I mean, it's always the juice. It's always the juice that gets the player. You can probably pick. I mean, think about it. You go 50-50. You're right half of the time, which would be fairly normal. And you're losing your ass at the same time.
Losing your ass. That's exactly right. So you could get in early with the crypto. You could also come in and own some shares of an early startup company. We've got so many pieces out there. I mean, the DFS platform has been up. It's got thousands of players, and it's very stable. People really enjoy it. And the fact that we've got people from 50 countries, I was shocked myself. Somebody said, "Where are you players from?" I'm like, probably everybody from the US. I look at the reports. It's like I got people from like 50 different countries.
They're sending it in Malaysia. Yeah, I know. It's amazing. Yeah. Well, we know the Japanese like to bet. We found that out through the Ohtani story. All right. The phone number to contact Raphael and his people, and he's got a great team at No Limit Technology, and own a piece of a betting site that you like. All of a sudden, you may as well have Native American blood in your system. It's unbelievable. 909-438-4079. 909-438-4079. Raphael, great having you on the program, and very innovative stuff. When you were explaining it to me the other day, it was like, wow, this guy has this whole thing down. A way to offset action and not get clobbered as a player at the same time. And then you don't have to worry about Lubie, who happens to be the king of all fantasy sports players, burying the organization, and all of a sudden everybody's stuck with is betting against this man. But you've got that all covered. So fantastic job by you. All right, Raphael, thanks so much for joining us here on the program. Thanks for getting up. And
Defo, Lubie, this was fun. I love the fact that I didn't have to explain juice and vig and lines and spreads.
That's all we talk about here on the show.
That's right. This was fun. I loved it. I'd love to have this beautiful audience that you've got that embraces the subject and doesn't shy away from it. I mean, it's kitchen table stuff now.
It is.
We used to get the look from every program director we worked for, right up until we finished in terrestrial radio. Where
is he talking about gambling again?
Right.
And all of a sudden, they love you. Well, geez. I mean, but what about your relationship with these various casinos? All of a sudden, it became very much in favor.
Well,
And you explain it to people that get involved with the company.
look at
In that bullet
DraftKings.
point thing, yeah.
$20 billion market cap.
Yeah.
Right before sports gambling, they were trying to merge with FanDuel. They were almost going
Mhm.
bankrupt. The original FanDuel people got bought out. They didn't make a penny because they were teetering on basically getting crushed. Suddenly, sports betting comes along. They're both $20 billion market cap
Amazing,
companies.
yeah.
We're following that path right to the bank.
Everybody's sending it in, too. All right. If you want to get involved, No Limit Technology. Raphael, great American as well, 909-438-4079, or you have the website there, DEV. That's
That's the
DEV.
email.
If you want to reach out to him, Dev.
At nolimitcoin.org.
That's the website there. The email is right there. You mentioned the phone right there. So you got everything down. This is a beautiful program. I watch it, and I'm so honored to be on here. It's a great day.
All right. Hey, thanks. Get a cup of coffee, and you know what? The early bird catches the worm, Raphael. So
I
let's
got
help some
one
people
already.
get involved. Thanks so much for being with us. It was a
All
pleasure
right,
having you on.
great ones. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so
I
much.
wait to see you on the platforms. Get in there.
All right, sounds good. Raphael Grossword. All right, that's interesting. The no juice policy. I kind of like that, Lubie.
I was like,
Did you hear that? I mean, I'm all of a sudden my hair started standing up like Don King. No juice.
Andy's
No
like,
juice for
that's
the
right.
big man. Who gets an accordance like that? A consideration like that? No fucking juice.
Andy's asking all these questions. I'm like,
Andy's great, man. Yeah.
And then he's like, can I have his number?
Brian says DraftKings stock has gone from $12 to
Four
$48.
times. Yeah. Like, I mean,
Think about this. They have money to give like Pat McAfee $100 million. I mean, just every commissioner in all of sports now that used to, I mean, just be repulsed by these people, right? Bookies. I mean, imagine that. Here's Roger Goodell, and who's he got at the Super Bowl in his box? A bookie.
What do you, my
Some
buddy?
guy from DraftKings.
My buddy, what was it, 2 days ago? Who's not into gambling at all? We've never gambled. I've gambled here and there.
Yeah.
He's never gambled. I don't remember him gambling ever on anything. He, another buddy of ours, and then him, three of us in a group chat, and he's like, have you guys tried these things? And look, because I know Ken's heard some horror stories. Now, this thing sounds different than DraftKings because it's just an open exchange. There's no reason for them to screw you.
Right.
And I think Raphael kept trying to push at home. We're not like them. We don't have a side, which makes sense that they would be.
They don't have an agenda in any single wager.
But, and I know Ken has had these stories of how bigger gamblers who have had struggles of cashing out, and they sort of steer you this way or that way. So I told him, I'm like, look, I don't know. I've never done it. I've heard horror stories. And even after I said that, he's like, yeah, I think I'm going to give it a try. And he's never gambled. I'm like, this thing's crazy, man. Like,
the explosion is unreal. I'm amazed. I was gambling from a very young age. Got involved. I guess there was something intuitively in my body chemistry that had. Like I've told you before, in the third grade, we used to get like a current events thing. So we got the New York Herald Examiner, third grade, Mrs. Obarski's class. And I was sitting next to a girl. I still remember Drina Turner was her name. And we were pretty good friends. We sat next to each other in the class all day long. You didn't move around. And we would get the paper and we'd go right to the race results. Now, what the hell would make you do that? I mean, what would make you, unless you've lived before, Louie? I don't mean to go like, who was it? Vanessa Redgrave? Which was the one that was a wacko of the Redgraves? Lynn Redgrave? Which one was the one that was in touch with the occult, for God's sake? Which I wish I could get in touch with for some reason, Louie.
I was going to say you wish.
Why can't I get in touch with the occult and get one stinking winner? But you know what? Now that I'm going to be connected with these no limit, wagers that I'm going to be making, I don't have to pay the juice. Can you imagine telling people that they're going to tell you to go fuck yourself? They really are. That you're full of shit. That you're a bigger liar than Shohei Ohtani, right? Where I say, hey, I'm betting with the site. Yeah, there's no juice. Libby, that would be great. I mean, that might level the playing field. At least to the point where you feel like you're in there with a half a shot. All right, we're going to come back with more. We'll come back and wrap this thing. Oh, you want to just wrap it up, Libby? What do you say?
I was going to take it out.
Okay, and now what's the deal with Kaiser?
I don't know. Mayo sent cryptic messages and pictures.
Yeah,
But
it
then
looked not like
squeeze-
they had like some kind of problem
They had
air
an
conditioning.
iguana. It was like an
Yeah.
iguana and then some other thing. And
You don't
But-
want an iguana dropping down on your table.
Quee's responses I kept making it seem like they were going to be doing business. So like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't we be in there? So I don't know. We're supposed to be at Kaizen today with the sushi scientist, Quee Lamb.
No, that guy's great.
He's
Really
friggin'
is.
great. The food,
Even if you're not a big sushi guy, which I'm not going to claim that I'm some sushi expert.
and look, it's opened my eyes to a lot of sushi
Yeah.
because they do different kinds of sushi and they
A lot
also
of different
do
stuff,
sushi
yeah.
bar and grill. And so
What's that thing with the little egg, man? That thing was pretty good.
quail egg? I don't fucking
Yeah.
know. It was really good, and they cater to your different interests and tastes. And so I was looking forward to being there.
Yeah, that place is great. It really is. Not being a sushi connoisseur, I mean, I'm inclined to think that the stuff that you get at 7-Eleven is okay.
Yeah, it's all the same shit to me.
Yeah, I really enjoyed your California roll there. Does it come with a couple of those taquitos that have been on the grill for the last 3 months? What do you think the sushi at the 7-Eleven, level of freshness? What would you think?
In Hawaii, the sushi's a big.
Oh,
deal.
that's right. You went there.
In Hawaii, Japan, they actually are doing sushi all day long, and they're changing it out.
At
In
the 7-Eleven.
Fries and Lauderdale by the Sea, I don't know if I'm going to 7-Eleven and getting
Go in
sushi.
there, get a Slurpee and some California rolls. What do you think? No?
That I can't. I
Does it come with the little ginger, or do I have to pay extra?
I can't speak to if it's good or not. I'm not going to be negative, but I'm not going to
Yeah.
be a proponent either. I won't lie to you.
Well, I would have to say, my taste in sushi is got to be pedestrian at best. But to put it in dining review terms, he had
Yes.
pedestrian taste to begin with. And of course, he would never be able to appreciate the work of the great Quee. But at Kaizen, you can't help yourself but to enjoy it. It's fantastic.
They do a
And
great
even if you're wearing a sushi guy, they have a few other things there. It's not like they have like a
Steak,
kids menu
lamb
that you
chop.
have to order off, but they do have other things that are very, very
Yeah,
good.
it's a sushi bar and grill, and they are true.
Do
to
they have a steak, I think, also?
steak. They do a steak program.
Yeah.
They have a lamb chop, which is an appetizer that I'm sure you can get into a meal. That's
I think we had some of those last time we were there.
we
They're
did,
great.
and then when I went with Shirley, we had it. They do sushi rolls that aren't. Some have like steak in them. Like they do different kind of sushi rolls for people. Because my sister-in-law gets something called chicken sushi, which I think is an
Yeah.
abomination. But not everyone likes seafood. They just don't. So or are allergic to seafood. So there, you're safe there. Yeah.
All right. Well, let me know. Let me know if we're heading out there.
Yes, I want to know as well. I texted Mayo an hour ago and I haven't heard back from him. So
No, he's on top of that stuff, though. I will give Mayo
we'll
that.
see. We'll see.
He may be a little bit of a strange cat, but
Hoping
he
we're
is
at
on top of like where you're going
Yes.
and the whole thing with that the show itinerary. Let's put it that way.
Hoping we're at Kaizen.
Yeah. All right. So that's the Mike Mayo lunchbox. So we'll have
Yes.
that for you 1:00 today. That
Yes.
airs on South Florida Live, and also where it really shines
Let's
is
see.
on the Let's Eat South Florida Facebook page, where there are like 148,000
I think they're
subscribers.
below
Now.
48, yeah,
Holy shit!
which is crazy.
No, it really is amazing because when we started this thing with Mayo was the gambling gourmet there Friday, he'd schlep out to the track at the last segment, and it was always a lot of fun because he knew the sports. Although he doesn't follow sports as closely as he used to. Would
Nah,
you say that's a fair statement?
he rarely he watches it here and there to throw a jab in here, but he doesn't
Yeah.
really like.
But then he would condemn the Miami Open as being like a nothing event.
Supposedly it's good at heart. I've never been there, so I don't know.
It's fine. No, it is. If it hadn't been at Key Biscayne, you would go to Hard Rock and say, "Good, here's the world's greatest tennis players right in your own backyard. All of them are out there assembled." And because of the rain that messed up the schedule there last weekend, you had I believe Carlos Alcaraz playing last night and then again this afternoon. So if you're going out there, Mustang went out there yesterday and had a great time. They had a couple of matches. Coco went down. Coco Gauff. She lost her match to Caroline Garcia, who oddly, Caroline Garcia, would you ever assume that she was French, Lubie? Caroline Garcia, French. Odds on that.
The name isn't French in any way.
No.
but
I
her
mean,
mom may be French, and
she, starts speaking. A very lovely young lady, tremendous. I mean, talk about a woman that has like a perfect body. It's this Caroline Garcia. In terms of an athletic
yeah,
body that you see, unbelievable. But she wins the first set. Coco comes back and annihilates her in the second set. Yeah, usually when you see that kind of a turnaround in a tennis match, aren't you assuming that the person that won the second set, like 6-1 in a blowout, what was going to go on, had gathered the momentum and go on and win the match? But Coco ended up getting schlumped in the final set.
really.
So that was weird. Yeah, the women's game right now. I mean, I as much as Sarni bothers us with some of the stuff about the gender bias, for some reason, he's not a big fan of women's tennis, or at least I don't.
Tennis at all. He's not Mr. Tennis, period. He doesn't really talk tennis. That's funny.
What a great sport. I mean, it is a terrific event, and a lot of interesting results took place yesterday. Your girl, Swiatek, got knocked out, the number 1 seed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she lost. And let's see, what was that? The round of 16, I think it was. And she lost to Katerina Katashmenkov or something. Katerina Alexandrova.
Okay.
Sounds like a skater, doesn't it? Here is Alexandrova. She's going to try the triple sow cow. Anyway, this woman beat Swiatek in straight sets. Are we going to go with Swiatek as the correct pronunciation of this woman's name?
I have no idea. Sure. I don't know.
Swiatek? I don't know.
Give me like 5
What the
different
fuck do I know?
I don't know. I've never heard it.
And Alcaraz beat Monfils, my man, Gael Monfils.
Oh, wow.
It was a lot of fun to watch, yeah. Monfils is always out of gas by the middle of the second set.
He's in his like 50s.
He's been around. And he doesn't even look like he's hitting the ball hard. He's annihilating the ball. It's amazing. He's like the Freddie Couples of tennis. A little bit more athletic, though. I mean, extremely athletic guy, very enjoyable, entertaining guy to watch. But he's out, as Alcaraz seems to have regained his form. Lubie, there were some questions, but this is all happening in front of us. It's magnificent to have this happening here in town. All right, we're going to see you guys later. We got to get on the road. Thanks so much to Raphael Grossworth for joining us here on the show. No Limit Technology.
That's super informative. That was really interesting, actually.
Check that out. 909-438-4079. Going to be, heading towards maybe being a public company, heading in that direction. But in the meantime, you can get involved with that. And they got the whole crypto thing going. I don't understand the crypto game at all. Do you, Louis? Are you a crypto?
I'm in it a little on
well-versed in crypto?
Like I'm not in Ethereum or Bitcoin. I'm in some of the smaller things, but I don't really know what to do with that. Any of it. I just put a little bit of money in it just to see it skyrocket.
Well, Mustang put $10. Somebody said, "Hey, just put $10 in here just to see what happens." In Bitcoin, it's now 16. That was like 2 weeks ago. Incredible.
Oh, wow. Well, okay, I mean, it was down to like 10 to 15 grand, and
it was Sam Bankman-Fried time there for a while, wasn't it?
That's what 4 times.
Was he the thing that brought crypto down? Sam Bankman-Fried.
It didn't help. It definitely
where it looked like everybody was a phony, where it looked like the Ohtani press conference.
Yes, it was actually hitting major heights. That's why he was able to be the name of a fucking arena, because it hit major heights. And then when and again, they're not all like him. He fucked it. His exchange sort of fucked it up for a lot of people.
Don't you want to live one day like the Wolf of Wall Street?
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't that be great, man? You're throwing some giant party in the Bahamas there. You couldn't care less. You're eating caviar of, naked women. It seems like, wouldn't that be nice for one day, Louis? One day. That's what we need.
Oh,
one big crypto score, and we're out the door, my friend. We got to get out of here. Thanks so much. Thanks to Raphael for joining us here, and I hope to see more of him and see this no limit technology develop.
Yeah, it's right up our freaking alley. Are you kidding me? Gambling without the juice.
Can only take off. How could this not be a winner?
You should call it gambling without the juice. That should
no juice gambling.
The tag, gambling without the juice.
It's like bare knuckle fighting, man. That's the way to go, right? You want to hit a guy one time and he's done. That'd be the way to go. All right, we'll fill you in on more of the development of that company also as it progresses. For Mike Lubitz, thanks for being with us. We'll catch you later on. We think maybe from Kaizen, which is now open for lunch, which is a great idea.
That's sick. Talk
about a great idea for a very refreshing and satisfying and delicious and unusual and internationally classy lunch.
Yep.
This would be it. Kaizen, that's on Federal Highway. It used to be Bon Gusto many years ago. And that was a local spot of some acclaim. I ate there many, many times when it was an Italian restaurant. Then it changed hands a couple of times, I think. And now Kaizen Kui is in there, and he's doing a great job. So check that out. That's 1 o'clock today. Let's Eat South Florida on the Facebook page. And, of course, here on South Florida Live. For Mike Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks for being with us today. We'll see you tomorrow. Tony Segreto goes old school, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. That's happening tomorrow here on the Defo Show. As we leave you now that.
The time...
It's 9:04.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my